Hey guys, this is Balu and today in this tutorial I will show how you can create this kind of CGI ads in Blender easily. So hope you guys will find the video useful, and without any further delay let's start today's video. So here I am using this fspy application to get the camera perspective, and also I am using the footage. So here I am using this footage from Pixels. I will leave a link in the description if you want to use the same. So in order to use fspy we need to get an image of our video. So come to the starting frame. If you are using VLC player, go to this video and click on this take snapshot. We will get the snapshot here. So we need to load that snapshot into the fspy application. So here I got the snapshot, right? So simply drag and drop it onto this fspy application. So fspy application is used to get the camera perspective. Number of vanishing points, let it be 2. And here I will change this z-axis to z-axis. Now we need to match the alignment here. So first of all, let me disable this dim image. So this red line is x-axis, this blue one is z-axis. So let's align this. So I will place it here. Hold shift key to zoom in. So here I will place this one, and also I will place this position. So one this set, second one here. So I will select this position and I will place it here. So x-axis is set. So let me adjust it properly. So x-axis is set. Now we need to set the z-axis. So let's bring it here. Okay. So press shift key to zoom in. So let it be here. So now you can see we got this XYZ coordination, right? So if I place this anywhere on this video, you can see it is matching with the building perspective. So here you can see it is matching, and here also it will be matching, and here also it will be matching. Sure, these axes should match with the perspectives here. So I will place this at the center. So once this is done, go to this file option and save. So here I will save this as 7777 and save. Now we can close this fspy application and let's open Blender. So here I'm using Blender 4.3.2 version. So let's delete this default scene by pressing A on the keyboard and delete. Now let's import that fspy data. So go to this file option, import fspy. So if you're not finding this fspy option, you haven't installed the add-on. So you can check a link in the description for a video where I have explained how to download and install, or else you can click on the icon above for the video. So once you have installed the application, select this fspy and locate the file. So here I got this file, simply select it and import. So now you can see we got the camera along with our footage. It is not footage, this is an image. So come to this camera options, come to this background images, expand this one. So this is set to image, right? Change this to movie clip since we are using movie clip, and load the footage once again. So open. So this is the footage and open clip. Now scroll down and let's increase the opacity. So now we got our footage here. So first of all, let's add a cube in the scene. So go to this add mesh, or else you can press shift A and let's add cube here. So we got cube here. So now we need to track the footage. For tracking I will be using geo tracker. So press N on the keyboard. Come to this geo tracker options, create new geo tracker. So in clip we need to load our footage once again. So open, so select the footage and load clip. So after that, in geometry our cube will be selected defaultly, and this camera we got this fspy data. So here you will get analyze option. Here I am getting reanalyze because I have analyzed the footage already. You will get analyze option. Simply click on that analyze option. It will ask for frames. So I will reduce the frame rate to 250 since the timeline is 250. I want only 250 frames, and okay. So now you can see it is analyzing our footage. So once the analyzing is done, change this to camera mode. Since we are tracking camera, change this to camera and click on the start pin mode and select this track to forward option. So now it is tracking the footage and we will get the keyframes here. So here our tracking is done. So first of all, let me change this end frame to 250 since we have tracked only 250 frames. So I will make this 250, and now if I play this, you can see we got our cube following the camera perspective. Here you can observe our cube rotation is also changing. So now we need to model the elements. So let's select the cube here, press tab key for edit mode, or else you can change it from here. So let's select this face selection, select the face here, and let's bring the face here like this. So I think this much is fine. So 0 to see-through camera. Now let's extrude this inward. So let's press tab key for edit mode once again. Let's select this face here, press E S and extrude it inward like this. Okay, now press E once again and extrude inward like this. So now you can see we got some room here. So if I play this now, you can see we got the room. So I think I need to extend this a bit here so that it will look better. So let's add the faces. So now we got the base structure here. So let's press tab key once again for edit mode. Let's select this face here. Now we need to duplicate this face. So shift D to duplicate it. So we have duplicated this face. Now press P for pen, and separate it by selection. So again, let's come to this object mode. Let's select the face here. So now you can see this face is separated. Let's align this point at the center, origin point. So go to this object, set origin to geometry, and let's bring this here. So I think this is fine. So yeah, I think this is fine. So now let's add some thickness. So let's go to this wireframe mode. So here you can see there is no thickness, right? So select the mesh here, come to this modifier options, add modifier, generate, and add solidify modifier. So we got the thickness, right? So I will increase the thickness to 0.03. So this much is fine, and let's apply this modifier. Okay, now let's change this to solid viewport, press 0 to see through camera. So now let's apply material. So before that, let me save this project. So file, save. So here the file is saved. So now let's apply material onto this object. So let's change this viewport to material viewport, and here I will be using this Blender Kit add-on to get models and materials. And by the way, Blender Kit is free to download. Let's change this to material option and look for glass. So here I will be using this material. Being selected our mesh, click on this image to load the glass material. You can see we got glass material applied onto the mesh. So now let's select this object here and let's apply, or else let's add material and let's add this base color. Okay, so that it matches with this building. Let's change this to render viewport. So here the scene is looking dark because there is no light in the scene. So here I'll be using HDRI to get the lighting. So come to this world properties, click on the color dot and change this to environment texture. So you can get free HDRIs from Polyheaven. So I got few HDRIs, so I will load one. So open. So here I will be using this HDRI. Simply select it and open image. So now we got some light in the scene. Now come to this render settings and let's come to this film option and make it transparent. And also let's enable this ray tracing option also. So now we got this base setup, and let's select this object. Let's go to this object viewport. Let's select this mesh, press tab key for edit mode, and let's change this to edge selection. Let's select this edge here, press E and extrude in x-axis. Okay, now select this edge, press E and extrude. So now let's select these extruded faces. So change this to face selection. Let's select these extruded faces here. So we have selected these extruded faces, right? Now we need to separate from this mesh. So press P, separate it by selection. Now press tab key to exit this edit mode. Now let's select this separated mesh. Let's come to this material options. Let's delete this mesh. So before adding new material, let's change this to render viewport so that you can see what is happening. So let's select the extruded mesh here, add new material. In surface, change this to hold out. So now you can see we got our footage visible and this mesh, extruded mesh, is invisible. So if you want to extrude these extensions, so let's do that also. So come to this object mode, let's select these faces, let's select the object here, press tab key for edit mode, change this to face selection, and let's select these faces here. Okay, and press E and extrude it bit outward. Okay, so now let's change this to render settings. So now it is extruded outwards. Nice. So now let's see how we can break this glass into small pieces using self-fracture add-on that comes with the Blender itself. We need to enable that add-on. So in order to enable it, go to this edit options, come to this preferences, add-ons, and look for self-fracture. So here I have enabled the self-fracture add-on, right? You get install option, install that add-on and save those preferences. So before breaking that object, we need to have subdivisions. So here this object doesn't have any subdivisions. So let's add subdivisions. So press tab key for edit mode, press A to select all the vertices, right click subdivide. So here we got this subdivide option, and let's increase the number of cuts to 50. So these many subdivisions are fine. So now you can press tab key for exiting this edit mode. So now we can make this object into small pieces using self-fracture add-on. So being selected this object, let's change this to object viewport. Okay, so being selected the object you want to make in pieces, go to this object, quick effects and select this cell fracture. So here we got the option, right? So let it be on vertex. So source limit is set to 100. This is the number of pieces the object is going to break. So I'll increase this to 110, and let's add recursion value 1, and also collection I will give as glass, so that all the pieces will be in glass collection. So I think this much is fine. Now hit OK. So now you can see the object is breaking into small pieces. So here you can see we got the pieces, and also all the pieces are in glass collection, and this is the main cube, right? So here you can see this is the main cube. So I will rename this as main. So we will be using this later, so for time being I will hide this main cube. Let's deal with the pieces. So expand this option. So here all the pieces, right? So now we need to add rigid body properties onto this object. So now right click and select all the objects. So go to this object option, set origin to geometry. We need to have origin point at the center of object. So now let's select the first cube, which is a single piece. Come to this physics property and add rigid body. Type, let it be active, and shape, let it be convex hull. Come to the surface option, expand this one, and if you want to increase the friction you can do that. So I will leave this to default only. Sensitivity, expand this option, enable this collision margin, and let's reduce the margin value to 0.01. Okay, so now if I play this, you can see the single pieces falling down. So now we need to copy this property to rest of the pieces. So right click, select objects. So make sure this first object is the active one, and rest and all are selected. After that, come to this object option, rigid body, copy from active. So now if you play this, you can see the objects are falling apart. So here I don't want that to happen. I want this to happen whenever an object is interacting with these pieces. So here again select the active cube piece. This is a single cube, just select that one. Scroll down, come to this dynamic options, expand this deactivation option also, enable it, and enable the start deactivation. So now we need to copy the same property to rest of the pieces. Again right click, select objects, make sure the first piece is the active one, go to object, rigid body, copy from active. So now if I play this, you can see all the pieces will be staying there only, unless it is impacted by another object. Now let's select this object, let's add rigid body property for that also. So go to this object, so type, let it be passive, and collision margin 0.01. Okay, fine. So now if I change this to render viewport, you can see we are getting these cracks visible at the starting frame only. So we will be using this main cube, right? This is the main cube, right? We will be using that one to hide this. So I will show you how to do that later in this video. So first of all, let's add model inside this room. So here I will change this to model selection, and I will search for iPhone 16. So you can use any of the model. So I think I will use this model. Simply click on the image, it will be loaded. So here you can see we got the model. So right click and select the object. So let's increase the scaling. So this is parented to an empty, so let's bring it here and let's increase the scaling. So I think this is fine. Now let's delete the empty. So select this empty here. So select the empty here, Alt P, and clear parent keep transform. Now select the model, Alt P, clear and keep transform. So now we can delete the empty. Now let's select the model. So here we need to place this origin at the center so that we can animate it properly. Go to this object, set origin to geometry. Okay, so let's place this inside this cabin. I think we can increase the scaling a bit. So I think this is fine. Okay, let's rotate this model. So let it be here like this, and also let's rotate this a bit here like that. Okay, let's place this here. So now let's animate this model. So I will be animating this at 30th frame. So come to this 30th frame, add a keyframe here, 100 frames forward, and let's bring our model front. Let's see 0 to see-through camera. So I will bring, so I think this is fine, and let's place this here. Now you can press I on the keyboard. Now let's move forward in timeline once again to 10 frame. So I will add rotation here. So I'll add random rotation like this. You can animate accordingly. So I will add this rotation like this. Now again press I on the keyboard, and now come to the last frame. So you can press I on the keyboard. So now if I play this, we will have our object coming out of this cabin and it will animate. So here I need to change the reflection, so let's change this to render viewport. So here I should have the reflections of buildings, right? Okay, so I think I am having the reflection of the buildings only. Yeah, fine. So if this reflection is not matching, change the HDRA according to the scene. So here I am getting this building reflections, so it's okay, it's fine. So now let's change this to object viewport. So now I need to make this object interact with the pieces, so let's do that. So let's select the object here, come to this physics property, add rigid body. So type let it be active, but make sure this animated option is checked in, as we have animated here. So since we have animated using keyframes, we need to enable this animated option, and shape let it be convex, and enable this collision margin, and I will change this to 0.01 also. So let's bring back here. Now let's see. So now if I play this, we will have our object getting interacted with the pieces. Nice. So here I don't want all the pieces to be shattering, so I want these edges to be staying in its position only. So let's select this edge here, okay, and let's change the type to passive. Now change this to circle selection, hold shift key, and let's select these edges here. So I want these edges to be staying here only, and yeah, I think this much is fine. So make sure the first piece what we have selected, it should be active one. So here you can see this is the active one, right? So now after that, go to this object option, again come to this rigid body, copy from active. So now these selected objects are passive. So now if I play this, we will have our effect, and also few pieces will be attached there only. Nice. So now here we need to change the mass for each piece. So if I select this single piece here, the mass of this piece is 1 kg, whereas this piece it is 1 kg, this piece is 1 kg. So whichever piece you select, the mass is showing 1 kg. So now we need to make the mass depending on the size. So for that, let's select all the pieces, right click and select objects. Now go to this object, rigid body, calculate mass, and here I will use glass one. So I think, yeah, this is glass. So now if I select the pieces here, you can see this piece is of 79 kg, this is of 70, this is of 88, and the active one, this is of 51. So now this will behave differently. So if I play this once again, yeah, so right now this is not showing any much difference here, but make sure to do this necessary adjustment to get the realistic physics behavior. Okay, so for this I think it is not showing much difference. Nice. Anyway, it is better to know. So now let's bake the simulation. So come to the scene properties, come to this cache option. So 1 to 250 is fine, and click on this bake option. So here the bake is done, and we got the effect here. So now I will find the frame where the shattering happens. So I think at 54th frame the shattering is happening. So we need to hide out these pieces till 53rd frame. So for example, if the material, let's move on to this render viewport, and if the main material is not glass, we can hide it easily. So here this is the glass material, right? So the cracks will be visible through this glass. If this is not glass, just we can animate this one by hiding this from 54th frame. So since this is glass material, it is visible from the starting frame. So let's select this glass shatter materials, and we need to hide these cracks till 53rd frame. So let's disable this in render. So till 53rd frame I have disabled this view in render option, and we need to add a keyframe here. So place the cursor on this camera option and press I on the keyboard to add keyframe on each and every piece. So you can see I have added all the keyframes here. Now at 54th frame, move 1 frame forward. So at this frame we need to have all the pieces back in render view. So again, enable this option and add keyframe. So at 54th frame I have enabled view in render option and added a keyframe. So now let's select this main cube. Okay, so this should be visible till 53rd frame. So let's come to this 53rd frame once again. Let's add a keyframe for this view in render option. Now move 1 frame forward. That's on 54th frame. It should hide out. So disable in render option and add a keyframe. So till 53 frames the main glass without cracks will be visible, and from 54 frames these fractures will be visible. So in this way we can hide the fractures from the starting frame. So now let's move on to render settings. So come to this render settings here. So here I will be using cycles. So change this to cycles. Enable GPU compute. So here I have in GPU compute. So in render settings I will reduce the samples to 32 and noise threshold I will make this 0.1. So these settings are to reduce the render time. Okay, so I think this much is fine. And now come to this color management, and here let's change this to standard and let's add bit contrast, okay, in the scene, or else let's change this to medium contrast. And also enable motion blur since these particles will be exploded, right? So motion blur will be good. And later come to this output properties, resolution you can change it here, enable render region, crop to render region. Frame rate we need to match this with the footage frame rate. So footage is of 30 frames, so I'll change this to 30 fps. And frame range starting and end 1 to 250 is fine. Set this accordingly to your footage. And output folder, so here we need to select a folder where we can save the files. So here I have selected a folder to save the files. And file format, let it be PNG, and make sure this RGBA is selected or else we won't get the alpha channel. So once this is done, simply click on this render and click on the render animation. So it will render only the CG elements, we won't get the footage. Later use any editing software to do the compositing. So in this way we can create this kind of CGI ads in Blender easily. So hope you guys have learned something new from this tutorial. If you have learned anything new, please like, share and subscribe my channel to support me. So I'll meet in the next video. Until then, signing off. Take care. Bye.